Hey guys, a video for our modern Japanese architecture playlist and an update from next door to the old Japanese farmhouse. Remember the video we made recently about shade cloth? Here it is again. So they cut down all the trees, found it was too sunny, and then had to put up some shade cloth to try and block the sun a bit. So they're still just as messy as they always were. We have a neighbour that's actually a magistrate who actually had a talk recently to the builder and said, your work site's too messy and all your rubbish is blowing up the street every day. Please do something about it. And they totally ignored him. So it continues to happen. Every day we've got rubbish all over the street. We're a bit lucky. It seems to blow away from our place usually. It blows into the other neighbour's house, but pretty rude. Probably the messiest work site I think we've ever seen in Japan. Pretty messy. So phone company turned up, shut the street, because every time they do something they've got to close the street because it's only one lane. So Gare de Man closed the street. And then we had one night, 8 o'clock at night, they were in there, for some reason, 8 o'clock at night, they were in there banging away. They've been going pretty slowly, these other two houses, 8 months so far. So hard to know why they'd bother being in there at 8 o'clock at night, because they're still not making much progress, but they were in there banging away with their little nail guns. And then the next day, closed the street again. Phone company came back again to wire up the house next door. Those guys have actually been in there for a couple of weeks, and now the phone company's just connected up their phone line, so they might not have had phone and internet until then. And then another night, they're back in the house again, late at night, banging away with their little nail gun. It's hard to see why. They're still not making any progress. And then more big bags of rubbish. Amazing the amount of rubbish they produce. When you look at the size of the little house, look at all the rubbish. Look at the wood. That's always amazing. All these materials are new, right? They're all leftover materials and offcuts, and we've seen lots of good material in there. We'd love to use at the old farmhouse, but we've left it alone. Poor old guy across the street. Every time it rains, all the rubbish, dirt and rocks and stuff washes down his driveway down there. Tons of it every time, and because it's rainy season, so it's happening a lot. They don't seem to have done anything to stop that either. So these guys are pretty unpopular in this neighbourhood because they've been pretty bad neighbours, the builders have. But look at the materials. There's awesome material, pipe and timber there. It's all new. That's just getting thrown away. So it's like, oh, I could use that pipe. I have something for that pipe. Need some of that pipe for an air conditioning outlet. And the wood could make great use out of the timber there, but no, stay away from it. Let them throw it away. It would be stealing, wouldn't it? So even if it's rubbish, it would be stealing. So we leave it all there. But you can see the rubbish all over the place. Every time the wind blows, it all blows up the street. Oh, the excavator's back, guys. There's only about 10 square feet of uncovered ground left. The excavator's back. How many times is that? Like 12, 14? I don't know. We lost count. Lost count of how many times the excavator's been there over the last 8 months. What the heck have they got left to do there? So this is funny too. This guy, his little van, it's so narrow, that block next door, that this guy couldn't tie on his truck here without stepping over the boundary. We don't care about that, but it was just funny. All right, they haven't even got enough land to be able to stand there and tie down his truck without stepping over the boundary. If we had an 8-foot tall wall there, they'd be in trouble, wouldn't they? So here comes the mystery that was mentioned in the title. So here's the guy that moved in next door trying to park his car, and he's not sure if he's got enough room. He has to get out of his car and have a look, make sure he's not going to hit the wall. And it's tricky for him because the street's so narrow and the front of his block is so narrow. And even though he has a tiny car, he seems to struggle to park it when there's another car in his driveway. So we think we might have solved a couple of mysteries, actually. You guys will remember they built this brick wall here and then came along and cut it and demolished the front part of it, that brick wall. We showed you that weeks ago. And the surveyors came back lots and lots of times, right? We've noticed that See this triangle? It's got 3 red surveyor markers on it. And it looks like what they've done is they've cut a triangle off the house next door to add it onto the driveway here, so that when these guys at the first house come and go, they've got a bit more driveway. They can sort of cut the corner to go onto the narrow street, because you can see what it would have been like before. It was too narrow across the front and too tight a corner for them to come and go. So they obviously didn't realise this till they finished building the places and putting the walls up. So what they've done is they've cut this little triangle off the house next door, and then the house next door to that they cut off a triangle, and the one next door to that they cut off a triangle. So each house now owns a little triangle of the house next door. See? So this is the next house. This is the third house. They cut off a triangle, and it looks like they've added it on to the house next door. So isn't that a weird solution? So you can imagine now on the title deeds for the houses, there'd be a funny shape now. There'd be a rectangle with a little triangle kicked off the front. Isn't that weird? And they obviously had to move the water pipes there too to allow them to do it. What a mess. So, solves that mystery anyway. How weird's that? More videos coming soon.